Hello everyone, my name is Liu Yaxuan. This is my fellow PPT report, QIM501 Introductional Design and Deliver. The topic of my presentation today is Lev Vygotsky zone of Proximal development and its application in digital development. Learning objective. Learnings will be about to expand the rules of social interaction in the acquisition of knowledge and skills. Learnings will be about to differentiate between intrasexual and intrasexual without any mistakes. Learnings will be about to identify the types of speech that challenge applied due to challenge age. Learnings will be about to expand the rules and provide the expanse of more knowledge or the MKO. Learnings will be about to expand the importance of zone of proximal development (ZPD) and the rules of structure in ZPD. Learnings will be able to describe the mechanism of zone of proximal development. Learnings will be able to explain the benefits of zone of proximal development in teacher. Learnings will be able to explain the purpose of scaffolding and list its essential elements. Learnings will be able to describe 3 types of scaffolding in a classroom setting. Learnings will be able to explain the application of Vygotsky's social development theory in a learning environment. Background of the author. Lev Vygotsky, born on the 5th February 1896 in West Russia, studying at the University of Moscow until 1917, graduated with a law degree. In 1925, Vygotsky pursued his full-time career as education psychologist. She is a specialist in the literature and also taught second school. His professional interest is to teach people and know how people actually died in the 1934 of tuberculosis, 37 years old. His theory repudiated by Stalin and years of the Stalin died. Vygotsky's development, the theory of development learns as the socio-cultural theory of collective development. Vygotsky believes that the community plays a central role in the process of making meaning. Change gain knowledge for the help the others and other skills others. Children learn first as the social lives through interaction for others. Learning happens because we interact with our environment. We do not learn because we develop because we learn. Vygotsky's theory is one of the foundation of constructivism. 3 major themes. Social introduction, the more knowledge about other MKO, through proximal development ZPD. Cultural Historical School of Thought. Vygotsky's views were embraced by a large group of young psychologists. And Lev and Liu followed Vygotsky in the 1920s and worked with him on the social historical occurrence of higher mental function in human beings. After the 1930s, Their survey and Nuria continued to conduct a lot of research, especially on the two issues that Willard studied in Vygotsky's theory of the onset and development of high motor function activity and material ontology, and Francis improved Vygotsky's theory, raising it to a new level and make the cultural historical school was developed and expanded. Two kinds of the mental function. Low mental function refers to the mental function acquired by biological evolution which emerged in the process of visual development, such as perception, long-range memory, image sync, imitation, etc. High mental functions, they are the result of the social historical development mediated by the language and symbols unique to human society and governed by the law of the social historical development. A mental process such as think, intention, attention, high emotion, and logical memory are high mental functions. Vygotsky's theory of developmental psychology. Part 1. The essence of development. Part 2. Determining the relationship between teaching and development, ZPD. Part 3. The application of digital development. Part 4. Assessment. 1. The essence of development. Development is the development of the psyche. Psychology development means that a person's psychology, for birth to adulthood, is gradually transformed into high psychology function on the basis of low psychology function under the influence of the environment and education. Therefore, the point out that teaching is not development, but properly organized teaching promotes the intellectual development of children. The part 2 point out the relationship between teaching and development. Before Vygotsky proposed the latest development zone, there were differences in the understanding of teacher and children's development. A relevance theory, teacher learns the promotes children's development, nurtures the direction of children's development, but at most use the results of children's intellectual development. The most that education can do is to try to take into account the children's correct level of development and to try to make the pace and difficulty of teacher comparable to the child's current level of intelligence. James Simons theory, teaching as development. By development is meeting the accumulation of various habits, learning to establish a connection between stimulation and character response. It ignores the initiative and specificity of the child, the internal psychological process of the child, and the motivation necessary for the transformation for the external action to internal child psychology and is irrational. Kafka's collectivism, development, and teaching are both independent and interrelated. By independent, I mean that teacher and development are two different processes, and that development is directly dependent on the maturation of the nervous system, not on teaching. By interconnected, we mean that teacher also tries to develop a new way of behavior that drives the development. When at the same time, children's development make certain forms of teaching possible. Regards classifying students' problem-solving ability into three demonstrate even with the help of others. 3. Those that are in the between these two extremes and can be demonstrated with the help of others. Teaching is artificial development. Teaching lenders to development and creating the largest development zone. Part 2. Determine the relationship between teacher and development, ZPD. Zone of proximal development, ZPD, is the difference between what the learning can do without help and what they cannot do. In other words, ZPD is the range of tasks that learners can perform with the help and guidance of others but cannot yet perform independently. Is the distance between the action development levels as determined by independent problem solving and the level of potential development as determined through problem solving and adult guidance, or collaboration with a more capable peers. The importance of ZPT in 21st century teaching and learning. The focus in on how the learning collaborate with each other and construct their own understanding with the help for the instructor. Hence, ZPT is one of the core for the 21st century teaching and learning to occur. Action development level, potential development level. Teaching should focus on the nearest development area. There are the reasons why ZPD is important in 21st century teaching and learning. Based on social development theory, learning happens because we interact with our environment. Activities that involve the interaction, such as group discussion of form, will promote learning among the learners. ZPT is first where the learners interact with the instruction or peers in order to learn something. For the instruction, learning can construct they understand. Tasks that are too simple or reason are the current ability, and tasks that are too complex will not promote learning. This is because tasks that too simple will make two learners lose their interesting, where tasks that are too complex will demotivate them. Hence, by focus on ZPD, learners will have the optimum rate of learning. Benefits of ZPD in teaching. Teaching's instructors can gain a lot of benefits for ZPD. Here are 4 benefits of teaching in the ZPD for teachers. Better experience. 2. Social instruction. 3. Better understanding. 4. Every study is unique. Vygotsky's theory has been first explained by the contemporary educational psychology community, which has development teacher models such as scaffolding, peer collaboration model, instructive teacher model, and social mentoring through apprenticeship. The teaching model of Vygotsky: 1. Bracket teacher. 2. Instructive teaching. 3. P2P model. 4. Apprenticeship teaching. 1. Scaffolding instruction. Refer to report help to students as they need it during instruction and withdrawing it as they grow up in adulting. The teacher cannot make the test either, but he can provide guidance and advice as well as some experience to the learners. However, in the practice, teachers tend to take the learned in the teacher process, neglecting the rules of scaffolding and not handling the process of instruction. Specific steps in the scaffolding instruction. 1. Assessment of the current state of child development. 2. Selection of learning activities, not too difficult or too easy. 3. Provided instructional support to help students successfully move through the zone of most research development. So 1. What I can do. 2. What I can do with help. 3. What I can't do. Support to cooperative learning. It is a teaching strategy in which students are main focus and groups are the meant for learning together to achieve learning goals and group member party and improve each other. Students learning for each other in small groups and master what they have learning while building trusting, unity, and the sense of community. Collaborative learning provides social support and scaffolding for students learning new content. 3 models of cooperative learning together: the jigsaw model and the peer director model. Part 3. Interactive teacher model. Interaction is a model of teaching based on the idea of scaffolding to train students reading stages. It is also known as the communicative approach or reflectional intentional approach with focus on the development of communicative skills based on the formation of language. Interaction is a two-way communication between two or more individuals in a learning environment that is designed to facilitate the completion of a learning task or the construction of interpersonal relationships. 3. Zone of the Proximal development in a digital environment. How can you apply Vygotsky's social development theory in a classroom setting? Through socialization, the teacher will in a Vygotsky's classroom. The teacher has a room to scaffold or assist the imagined complaints of the students. Examples: implement small group activities as well as large group activities. The teacher initiates in the information and test to be gained. Students can verbalize their think and demonstrate their understanding. Strategies that can be used: hinting and parameters that help in the change during the assessment can form the basis of introductional strategy. The stage cooperative learning activities can be planned with groups of children at different levels who can help each other learn. Scaffolding is a tactic for helping the child in his or her zone for proximal development, in which the adult provides hints and problems at different levels. Vygotski's suggestion for the use of cooperative learning teaching use whole and artistic activities, creating a need for what is to be learned, creating classroom exercises that require social interaction with peers, parents, teachers, or professionals. Encourage staff talk or egocentric speech, provided opportunities of verbal interactions. Class mentor students' progress in order to avoid assessing tasks that are not within a student's zone of proximal development. Instruction or activities must precede a student's development. Person tasks that students can perform successfully only with assistance. Provide sufficient support to enable the students to perform challenging tasks successfully, then gradually withdrawing support as the student becomes more skilled. Students must be given the opportunity to demonstrate learning independent of others. Construct activities that are designed to stimulate both behavior change and cognitive changes. Implement scaffold stage. Let's take a deep look into how can we implement a few of the stages mentioned above into our classroom. Pre-knowledge, a great scaffolding technology, is to ask students to share their own personal experience or knowledge about the topic that they are learning about. Have them try and relate the topic in one way or other to their own lives. Implementing scaffolding strategies. Visual aids like graphic organized charts and photographers are served as wonderful scaffolding tools because they visually represent what the students are learning about. They're essentially the training where students using their can really get a firm grasp on the information. Pre-teach vocabulary. It is essential to teach any new vocabulary before you send students home with it. All you have to do is simply introduce the new words through a photo or by itself, as well as put the word into context and relate it to something that they already know so that it can well keep students interested. How does the Oregon technology enhance the application of these theories? The classroom contains wonderful session tools necessary for learning in Vygotsky's theories. Use competence of technology in the classroom can augment and enhance the social dynamics of his theory by adding primary control tools. In order to utilize this technology, teaching can create lessons that require students to working in groups with task-related instruction and utilize the higher around-think skills. If technology is utilized correctly, it can properly form and informal learning groups and oppose the two students who work in isolation for one another. Students can be experienced, equal peers, or apprentices at any time in the classroom environment. Lessons should include use computers and design so that tasks can promote socialization and effective working relationships. Students learn to communication, to complete projects, to solve problems, and to effectively finalize their tasks. Teachers can incorporate Vygotsky's theories into their lesson plans by offering over socialization opportunities. Part 4 Assessment. It has far-reach influence on contemporary quality-oriented education and educational reform. First of all, it helps you to set up a new teacher concept in line with the requirements of modern teacher. Teacher and development are social and cooperative activities. They can never be thought to be individual. Vygotsky's theory has direct influenced the development of the current record popular constructivism teaching throughout. Secondly, it helps us to give new meanings to the essentially changed concept of teaching students according to their aptitude. Finally, it helps us to change the previous view of learning. Let us pay more attention to the contribution of students' subjective initiative as well as the exploration of students' potential. In education aspect, the area of personal development of an individual is a relative dynamic area. So when an individual reach the expected learning level, the educator has to change the teaching method and make a new teaching plan. In this way, the regularly not only need to do intelligence measurement regularly to learn the lesson. Area of personal development of an individual, but also need to change the teacher master for 10 to 10, which is a great change for the educator. In education aspect, the ZPD of different individuals is different, so teachers have to make different teacher plans over each individual's learning, which is unrealistic and impossible for schools, according to the current education system in China. In education aspect, each teacher has a different method, emphasis and degree of teaching, so it remains to be determined whether this will affect the duration change of the proximal development zone of the individual learner. My presentation is over. Thank you for attention. Thank you. See you next time. Bye bye. Thank you.